Good day everyone! So this is Teacher Claire and today we will be discussing about systems of linear equations in two variables. This is found in your module 2 and we will run through lessons 1 until lesson 3. So before we start, let us first review on what is a linear equation. So a linear equation is an equation in two variables which can be written in two forms. The first form is the standard form, which we know as ax plus by is equal to c, where a, b, and c are elements of real numbers, and a and b are not both 0. So some examples of standard forms are 2x plus 7y is equal to 9, x minus 5y is equal to 9, 5x plus y is equal to negative 8. So ang timailhan ra jud ani or ang rule ra jud ani for standard form is that a, the coefficient a here should be positive. Okay. For the next form, naatay slope-intercept form or the y is equal to mx plus b form, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. M and b should also be both elements of real numbers. So, nata example diri, we have y is equal to 4x plus 7, y is equal to 2x over 4 minus 8, and y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 6. So, another rule for slope-intercept form is that the y variable here should not have a coefficient and dapat dili sad siya negative because having a negative y means that you have a coefficient of negative 1. So, dapat wala siya coefficient. Y ra jud na siya. Now, let's go to system of linear equations. So, when we say system of linear equations, it simply means it is a group of two or more equations with the same set of variables. So, if the first equation, iyahang variable or letters na gigamit is, let's say, a and b, kay two variables man, dapat sa second equation, the same ang variable na iyang gamiton, which is a and b. So, in this case, all of the equations here are using the variables x and y. So, the solution of the system of linear equations is an ordered pair that makes both equations true. Graphically, the intersection of two lines determines the solution of the system of linear equations. So, we will discuss more on that later on in the video. So, let's have here an example. We have here 4 examples. We will identify kung unsa diri or asa diri ang system of linear equation, asa diri ang dili system of linear equation. So, let's have the first example here. The system includes the equations y is equal to 3x plus 9. And then the second equation is 2x is equal to negative 6y plus 2. So, if you can see, both of them are linear equations. Okay ra? And both of them also uses two similar variables which are y and x. So, therefore, this entire system is a system of linear equation. Let's go to the next example. For the next example, the first equation is y is equal to negative 2. Then the second equation is x minus y is equal to negative 10. So, if you notice, ang first equation niya, usara ang variable which is y. Now, we are looking for systems of linear equations in two variables. So, meaning, dili ni siya pwede, kay usara man ang iyahang variable. Although this is a system, kay system is a group of equations raman dyan na siya, but this is not a system of linear equation in two variables. Okay, so this is not. For the third example, we have 2x plus 3y is equal to 0. And then, ang second equation niya is 2y is equal to 3x plus 1. So, if we analyze, silang duha pareho linear equations and silang duha sad nagamit og the same variables which are x and y. So, therefore, this is a system of linear equation in two variables. For our last example, ang first equation niya kay y plus 8 is equal to 0. Ang second equation niya is x minus y is equal to negative 5. So if you look at the first equation, again, usara gihapon iyang variable na gigamit, which is y. So meaning, dili ini siya system of linear equation in two variables. So before we go to graphing systems of linear equations, ari sa ta sa graphing linear equations, let's have a review. So as we have learned in our previous module, there are 4 methods of graphing linear equations in two variables. The first one is using 2 points. So mo ni siya katong magamit tag table of values, mag-assign tag value sa isa ka variable, let's say x, unya using that value atong pangitaon pila ang value sa y variable. For the second method, naatay using x and y intercepts, which is a very common method. So, imo lang pangitaon ang x and y intercepts sa linear equation, then you will connect both points and you now have a graph for that equation. For the third one, we have using the slope and the intercept. So, in this case, if ang imuhang linear equation kay naa na siya daan sa slope-intercept form, dili na kakailangan mag-solve. You can use the y-intercept as your point of basis, and then you can use the slope to locate the next point or points para maka-create ka og graph for that equation. And finally, we have using the slope and a point. This method is similar to method number 3. Ang nakalahi lang kay instead of having the y-intercept, you are now using a point. So meaning, na coordinates na gihatag, imong i-plot ang point, then magamit ka sa slope para makita nimo ang sunod na points na makapurma og line for that equation. Let's have an example on how to graph systems of linear equations. So parihara ni siya sa mag-graph ka og linear equations, only this time, duha ka buok or tulo ka buok, depende sa system, ang kailangan nimong i-graph na line. So in this example, we have 2 equations for the given system. The first equation is x plus y is equal to 3. The second equation is x minus y is equal to 2. So, para sayon kay nato pag-graph, ato lang ni siyang i-transform from standard form into the y equals mx plus b form. I can do this easily kay wala may coefficient si y. So, dali ra nato ni siya mabuhat. Let's solve first the first equation. So, ang first equation nato na atay x plus y is equal to 3. If we solve this one if we transform this one into the slope-intercept form, ang buhaton na nato, dapat mabilin si y ani na side sa equation. So, kisa man natong ibalhin nato si x. This is called the additive property of equality, but for the sake na masayon lang nato masabtan ang lesson, ato lang i-imagine na gibalhin nato si x sa pika side sa equation. So, ang mabilin ra diri is y. So, y is equal to, since ato man gibalhin si x, from a positive sign, mahimo na ng negative ang iyahang sign. So, y is equal to negative x, then copy 3, plus 3. This is now the slope-intercept form of the equation x plus y is equal to 3. So, pila may slope ani na equation? The slope for this equation is negative 1. And knowing that it is a whole number, kay bawgid tanan ni siya imaginary denominator na 1. Pila man ang y-intercept ani na equation? So, the y-intercept of this equation is 3. So, we have now the first equation. For our second equation, let's do the same thing. So, the equation is x minus y is equal to 2. So, if we transform this into the slope-intercept form, kailangan rin nato ibalhin again si x. So, ang mabilin diri is negative y is equal to, from positive, mahimong negative si x. Negative x, copy 2, plus 2. This time, na ay coefficient si y na negative 1. So, atong buhaton, we have to make y positive or dapat tangtango na to si negative sign ni y. And to do that, all we have to do is divide it by negative 1. Now, since this is an equation, kung unsa man ang atong gibuhat on one side of the equation, dapat buhaton sa nato sa other side of the equation para equal gihapon siya. So if we divided negative 1 on the left side of the equation, we will also divide negative 1 sa right side. If we simplify this, we will have y is equal to negative x divided by negative 1, that is just positive x, minus 2. Kay positive 2 divided by negative 1, that is negative 2. So, pila man ang slope ani? Ang slope na to ani is 1. Knowing that it is 1, yung whole number siya, na-should ni siya imaginary denominator of 1. And our y-intercept, which is negative 2. Always remember to carry the negative sign. Ayaw dyan nagkalimti ang negative sign or else sayop ang imong equation na mabuhat. So, let us plot the two equations on the graph. So, for the first equation, iyahang y-intercept is positive 3. So, pangitaon ra nato si positive 3 sa y-axis and si positive 3 na adire. So, we will graph or we will draw positive 3 there. Now, using the slope, since ang atong slope is negative 1 over 1, iyahang numerator is negative 1, and we know that the slope is just change in y over change in x. So, negative man siya, we have to go down. Naog tag ikausa. Yeah, since positive ang atong denominator, ang denominator na to change in the x-axis. So, since positive siya, agto ta og 1 point or 1 unit to the right. So, meaning, naa diri atong next point. Now, we will connect those two dots using a line. And we will put arrowheads at the end of the line to indicate that this line extends infinitely. For the sake of this presentation, please bear with me na dili straight ang iyang line. But, if ikaw ang nag-draw sa line, you have to use a ruler para makita dyan nimo ang straight line o kung asa siya na points nag-igo. So, we will name this line as x plus y equals 3. Now, for the second point, second equation, ang iyang y-intercept is negative 2. So again, pangitaon na to si negative 2 kung asa siya sa y-axis, and negative 2 lies here. Iyang slope is positive 1 over positive 1. Since positive man ang iyang numerator, instead of going down, this time musaka ta. So, sakatag 1 unit na natadiri, and then muagto sad ta sa right for also 1 unit, which makes the second point here. And the same thing with what we did ganina, we will just connect the 2 points with a line. Put an arrowhead to indicate that mo extend pa na siya na line, and don't forget to write the equation of that line. So, ato yun na siya butangan og label. So, this is x minus y is equal to 2. And that is now the graph of our system. So, na-graph na nato ato ang system. And kung asa ang ilang point of intersection, in this case na adiri, mao na siya ang solution for that system. Let's have another example. For the next example, we have the equation x plus y is equal to 3. And then the second equation, which is 2x plus 2y is equal to 6. So, using the same method, para dali lang nato mag-graph, let us transform our equations into the slope-intercept form. For the first equation, we have x plus y is equal to 3. If ato ni siyang ibalhin or i-usab into slope-intercept form, all we have to do is make sure na si y ra jud ang mabilin diri na side na equation. So, atong imagine na gibalhin nato si x sa pikas. So, y na lang ang nabilin diri. Is equal to, since gibalhin nato si x sa pikas, ang sign ni x from positive, mahimo na siyang negative. So, y is equal to negative x, copy dayon ta ni 3 plus 3. Ang slope ani na equation is negative 1. Again, since kabauta na si negative 1 whole number, butangan lang nato siyang denominator na positive 1. And ang y-intercept niya is positive 3. Now, for the second equation, we have 2x plus 2y is equal to 6. So again, let us transform this into slope-intercept form. To do that, dapat atong ibalhin si 2x sa pika side sa equation. So, ang mabili na lang ari na side na equation is 2y. Since si 2x atong manggibalhin from positive sign, mahimo na siyang negative. So, this will become minus 2x. Then, copy dayon ta ni 6 plus 6. If you notice here, na ay coefficient na 2 si y. So, the same thing na itong gibuhat ganina para mawagtang ang coefficient ni y, we will divide that by positive 2. And again, since this is an equation, what we do on one side of the equation, ato sa na siyang buhaton on the other side of the equation. Kaya nag-divide man tag negative, positive 2 dire, divide sa tag positive 2 sa pikas. So, 2 divided by 2, makancel na siya, that is equal to 1. Ang mabili na lang diri is y. Y is equal to, let us simplify this side of the equation. Negative 2x divided by 2, pila man na siya. So, negative 2 divided by positive 2, that is negative 1. Na may x, atong i-multiply si negative 1 kang x, that will give us negative x. Arita sa pikas. So, we have 6 divided by 2. Very easy. That is just 3. So, negative x plus 3. Ang ato ang slope karon for this equation now is negative 1. And again, butangan na to siya denominator na positive 1. And ang ato ang y-intercept is positive 3. Now, if you notice here, pariha ang slope ug ang y-intercept sa duha ka equation, even though lahi-lahi sila na equation. So, unsa kahay naong ani niya kung ato ni siyang i-graph. So, let us graph the first equation. So, iyahang y-intercept daw kay positive 3. So, kung atong pangitaon si positive 3 sa y-axis, naa diri si positive 3. Iyahang slope is negative 1, 1. So, again, naog tag-usa, kay negative 1 man, padung tag right, usa sad ka unit, kay positive 1 man yung denominator. So, naa diri ang iyahang second point. Let us connect the two dots and put an arrowhead para sa line. Now, we will name this line. So, ang i-follow na to na name sa line kay ang original na equation na gihatag, which is x plus y is equal to 3. Now, let us graph the second equation. So, we have here, iyahang y-intercept is the same ra, which is positive 3. And ang iyahang slope is the same ra gihapon, negative 1 over 1. So, meaning, naa gihapon diri iyahang second point. And if we graph that, parihara sila graph na porma. Or, ang ilahang duha ka lines, pwede na to ma-imagine na parihara or gapatong. So, we will name this line, kaning color green, as 2x plus 2y is equal to 6. So, if you notice, ganina, nag-intersect to ang duha na to ka line, karon nagpatong na sila or nag-coincide na ang atong duha ka line. This means, kaninang duha ka equation, ani is, daghan kini silag solution, or infinitely many ang ilahang solution. Let's have our final example for graphing systems of linear equations. So, in this case, naatay duha ka equation, x plus y is equal to 2, and then the second equation is x plus y is equal to negative 2. So, if we will graph this one, again, ato na siyang i-transform into slope-intercept form. So, our first equation is x plus y is equal to 2. If we transform this into slope-intercept form, all we have to do is ibalhin lang nato si x, kay positive naman si y daan. So, ang mabilin ari na side is y. Y is equal to, so si x, since ato mo siyang gibalhin, from positive, mahimo na siyang negative x. Copy na lang dayon ta ni positive 2. Ang slope ani na equation is negative 1. Again, butangan na to siya og denominator na 1, kay whole number man siya. Yang y-intercept is positive 2. For the next equation, we have x plus y is equal to negative 2. So, kung ato ni siyang i-transform into slope-intercept form, ato lang ibalhin si x. So, ang mabilin diri na side is y. So, y is equal to negative x, this time minus 2. So, ang slope for this equation is, again, negative 1. Butangan na itong denominator na 1. Then, ang iyahang y-intercept is negative 2. Let's try to graph both of these equations. So, for the first equation, iyang y-intercept daw is positive 2. So, pangitaon na to, asa man si positive 2 sa y-axis? So, naa si positive 2 dire. Ang iyahang slope is negative 1 over 1. So, again, muna og tag isa ka unit, then we will go to the right 1 unit. So, that makes the second point here. And we will connect these 2 points to form a line. Don't forget to write the arrowhead for your lines. We will name this line now as equation x plus y is equal to 2. Importante jud na panganlan nato ang atong line para makahibaw ta og makahinumdum ta para kang kinsa na graph atong gidrawing. For the next equation, iyahang y-intercept kay nasa negative 2. So, mangita ta ni negative 2 sa y-axis. Nya naa si negative 2 dire. Now, iyahang slope is the same ra, negative 1 over 1. So, muna og tag isa ka unit na 1, pero go to the right ta og 1 unit. So, iyahang next point kay naa dire. This time, we will connect these 2 lines. And we will name our graph. So, this is x plus y is equal to negative 2. As you can see, dili pareha sa graph na to ganina, ang duha ka line na naa diri for this system kay wala nag-abot. So, meaning, kanina system, wala sila'y solusyon. Moingon galitag solution, meaning a coordinate or a point na kung atong isolve, gamit ang duha ka equation sa system, mugawas og tinuod ang kana or true ang kanang point or values sa point na atong gi-substitute. In this case, wala man sila gaabot, so meaning, walay point sa graph na makahimo na tinuod for both equations para ani na system. Now, there are kinds of systems of linear equations in two variables. There are 3 kinds actually. The first one is a system of consistent and independent equations. The second one is system of consistent and dependent equations. And then the third one is system of inconsistent equations. So, maura ni siyang tulo, sa kato atong gi-graph ganina, usa at tagsa to sila ka-example sa kaning tulo ka kinds of systems of linear equations. So, asa man ani nila ang examples na atong gikuha ganina. So, for the first one, consistent and independent. So, this is our first example sa atong gi-graph na to ganina na systems of linear equation. Ang characteristic aning consistent and independent, it has exactly one solution. Nya asa man na ang solution para sa consistent and independent. It is in their point of intersection or ang lugar kung asa sila nag-abot. Maura gyud na iyahang solusyon. Meaning, kung ang coordinate ani na point, since kanina point, y-intercept man ni, this is 0, positive 1. Kung kaning siya, 0, positive 1, ato ning i-substitute sa equation na naa nato diri, makakuha tag answer na true. sa tanang points diri sa ato ang graph, kanira gyud na point ang makakuha tag true or correct answer para sa duha ka equation. Why laing point? Kay dira raman sila nag-intersect. So, the graphs are intersecting. As you can see, ang iyahang graph kay naay point of intersection. Now, this is the most important part. Characteristics sa iyahang slope o y-intercept. The slopes of the lines defined by the equations are not equal. So, ang slope daw niya, dili equal, and their y-intercepts could be equal or unequal. So, ang y-intercept niya, okay ra equal, okay ra dili equal, basta iyang slope dili equal. So, let's take for example kanina point. Let us try to substitute the coordinates of this point kung mutro ba jud or musakto ba jud siya para anina equation. So, ingon diri x is 0, y is 1. So, if we substitute x, the value of x here, so x here becomes 0, plus, ang value daw ni y kay 1, will it be equal to positive 1. So, that becomes 0 plus 1 is equal to 1, or 1 is equal to 1, which is true. So, nisakto siya for this system. Now, for the other equation, true baka gihapon ato makuha kung we substitute this same point to the next equation. So, si x daw kay 0. So, this becomes 0 minus si y kay positive 1. So, 0 minus 1 is equal to negative 1. If ato na siyang isolve, that becomes negative 1 is equal to negative 1, which is true. So, sakto jud ang atong solusyon. Kani siyang point of intersection nila. This is a solution to both of these equations. Kung magkuha ka og laing point dira, let's say for example, kanina point, imong kuhaon, ya imong gamiton ang coordinates ani na point, which is negative 2, 0, imong i-substitute sa duha ka equation, dili na siya mo true for both equations. If for example, kani siya na point imong gamiton, having the coordinates 1 and 2, if ato ni siyang i-substitute sa both equations, usa ra ka equation ang mutro niya, which is kaning equation kung asa siya nabilong. But, ang second equation niya, since wa man niigo ani na point, false ang mogawas. So, for this kind of system, consistent and independent, usa ra jud ang iyahang solusyon. For the next type of system, we have consistent and dependent. So, unsa may characteristics ani niya? It has an infinite number of solutions. The graphs are coinciding or pariha ra sila graph, or kung ato imagineon mo ra siyag nagpatong ra ilahang graphs. And ang most important part, the slopes of the lines defined by the equations are equal, and their y-intercepts are also equal. So, equal pareho ang iyang slope and y-intercept, as you can see in this example. So, since equal man iyang slope ug y-intercept, pareha ra gyud na ang mag-graph nato na line. So, we call this type of system as consistent and dependent. If you will get any point on this graph, bisag asa na point ana nila, kaniba na point, or kaniba na point, or kaniba na point, bisag asa na point ana na graph, it will hold true for both equations. Mauna, ang iyahang number of solutions is infinite. Kay pariha ra man sila na graph, so pariha ra gyud ang tanang solution, pariha ra gyud ang value na atong makuha kung magkuha ta og point na atong i-substitute aning duha ka equation. So they have an infinite number of solutions. Finally, we have the type of system that we call as inconsistent. So, kani siya na type of system, they have no solution, and their graphs are parallel. Kay baw na ta from our previous lessons na parallel lines are lines that theoretically never meet. So, di mag-abot ang duha ka parallel lines. So, kung di sila mag-abot, meaning walay solusyon ang duha ka equation sa system. The key note here is that the slopes of the lines defined by the equations are equal, but ang ilahadang y-intercept is not equal. So, although parihas sila og slope, ang ilahang y-intercept dili man equal. So, ang mahitabo, makadrawing kag parallel lines niya, wala jud kay solusyon na makuha ani, or no point in the graph can make both equations true. So, those are the three types of systems of linear equations. In a nutshell, para sayon na nato mahinumduman, and even though wala tay drawing na makita dira, as long as we know the value of the slope and the y-intercept of each equation in a system, dali ra ta makaibaw kung unsa na siya na type of system. So, kani siya na table, nagpakita ni siya kung unsa na type na system ang naa. If inig-solve gali nato ang slope niya kay not equal, automatic that is a consistent and independent system. But if ang slope niya is equal, tan-aw sa nato iyang y-intercept kung equal ba or not equal. Kung equal iyang y-intercept, then ang kana na system is consistent and dependent, and ang iyahang graph is coinciding, katong magpatong ang graph. If ang iyahang slope is inconsistent, or if iyahang slope rather is equal, pero iyahang y-intercept is not equal, then kana siya na system is inconsistent. Meaning, ang graph ana niya is parallel. Dili gid sila mag-abot. For the first one, ang graph ani niya is intersecting. Meaning, ikausa ra gid sila nagkaabot. And those are the three kinds of systems of linear equations in two variables. In our next lesson, for the next video, we will be talking about solving systems of linear equations in two variables. So, until next time, goodbye!